Hello and welcome to the Michigan and Trumbull podcast. I'm Alex Freeman, joined as always by Luke Jaconis. Luke, how's it going on this one day past Bobby Bonilla Day?
Going well. Unlike Bobby Bonilla, I did not receive $1 million on July 1st. We will hope and pray that maybe I am.
Get lost in the mail?
It did. You know what? I have been moving. I've moved a couple times since I moved down to Florida, so maybe they sent it to an old address. Yeah. But nonetheless, I am still not $1 million richer like good old Bobby B is today. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good. I'm just back from Florida.
You were all over the place for a while. I felt like
I was in Toronto, and then I was in Florida, and I spent the night in the Charlotte airport at one point during that trip. So wow. Great times.
How are the accommodations?
It's a very nice airport. It's a very bad hotel.
Gotcha. Good to know. Okay, so we will not book the Charlotte International Airport as the hotel for our wedding guests next spring. Yeah, we will make sure.
For two reasons, really. One, it's not great as a hotel to stay at, and two, you're not getting married in Charlotte. So
that's true. That is, as far as you know, we might pull a last minute 24 blitz and say, "Surprise, folks!"
I'm getting an invitation to one location, while the rest of the guests are getting an invitation to the actual location of the wedding.
Imagine if you did that and it turned into an episode of The Amazing Race, where then you essentially drop all your guests at different parts across the United States. And they have to race to get to the actual wedding location by the time we say I do. Now, realistically, if I got it in this hypothetical, I'd say, well, I'm just not playing. I'll send a check, enjoy an Amazon gift card or a new toaster. But in the hypothetical effed up brain of the groom, it's kind of fun to think of this. But alas, this hypothetical has gone on too long. That's not happening.
I kind of like it. I like it a lot.
That'd be a great reality show. I could see that on maybe not quite Netflix, because everything they do is thrust after love and can you take your clothes off for 5 seconds? It's all very erotic. That's more of an Amazon Prime reality show. I
do feel like we've got a great pitch here, because it's we could combine. It's like Love is Blind or 90 Day Fiance meets The Amazing Race.
Yeah.
And we call it Race to the Altar.
Love it. That's a good name. I feel like that name is already taken. I feel like I've seen a reality show called Race to the Altar, maybe a TLC one that aired in 2006. But I love the premise. I love your idea. You can add a little young appeal to the younger demographic, but then also kind of get the older demographic who young love. So it could be. You got to play to both sides here. If
you work in development at any of the major television studios, give us a call. We got a TV show to pitch. We have our experience in producing television is these live streams. So if this appeals to you,
we're gonna need someone who can produce and also market. Our experience with marketing these live streams is me sending out a tweet about 3 minutes beforehand, saying, "Hey, we're live. Anybody want to jump in? Come and hang out."
Hop on in.
I'm sure the views are just through the roof as we're doing an episode.
We just ticked up to 1. And then actually, as we acknowledged the audience, as so often happens, they went away. So we scared them.
People catch
scared them away.
We're here for the repeat views. Absolutely.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Well, as we're here on Wednesday, July 2nd at about 2 p.m. Eastern time, we are both currently watching the Detroit Tigers borderline wallop the Washington Nationals, up 7-0 in the top of the 4th. 3-run home run by Riley Green, 3-run home run by Jake Rogers, Trey Sweeney with a sac fly, 2 scoreless innings from Tyler Holton, 1 scoreless inning from Brant Herter, and a partridge in a pear tree. So
I love it.
Honestly, a textbook start for the Detroit Tigers. They had the off day Monday, got rained out on Tuesday, and now we got a doubleheader today. And your doubleheader day could not have started any better for the Tigers. Could not have started any worse if you're the Washington Nationals. As I think they were saying on the broadcast, the Nats have to play 4 games in the next 48 hours. Tough. As if things aren't bad enough for the Nats. Yikes.
Tough look for my guy right there. Yeah, it's very interesting. I don't know if you've felt this way. lately bullpen games have felt a little bit scary. But obviously they're working. That's much less of a problem. As we're in the fourth, we're up 7 runs. That feels safe, is what I want to say.
It also helps too when you're up 7 runs. It also helps too on a day like today when you're playing the Washington Nationals, a team who has just been pretty much on the decline since May. So, yeah, it's the bullpen. We talked about, I think, in our last episode, areas where this team needs to improve, and obviously, given the name of the title, we'll kind of get into too. The bullpen is an area 100% where they can grow, as well as starting pitching. I think if I'm the Tigers, like I said, I think in our last episode, I'm adding 1 major bullpen arm and 1 major power starter. Now, we've seen with the Tigers, unfortunately, the injury bug is really catching up to them. But, I have to give them credit. That's a fair ball, I'm pretty sure, off the bat of Gleyber. You see the chalk fly up right there.
Yep.
They're reviewing it. But look at that. See the puff of smoke, a little white chalk smoke?
Oh, yeah. Either that ball is fair or it's elected a new pope.
Now that is a good. Someone's been watching Conclave on repeat
every day.
Every day until Ray Fiennes wins that Oscar.
Every day I get up at 6 a.m. I watch Conclave and then I'm ready for my day. That's
hilarious. Actually, it's a pretty short movie, so it really wouldn't take that much time out of your day. It's only like an hour and a half. So yeah, I mean, for what it's worth.
Some people work out. Some people do yoga. I get up and watch Conclave.
And only Conclave. He does it. He does it every day. I think for the Tigers, room for improvement. Getting a big power arm in the bullpen, and then also a big power starter, I think is good too. I think I'm about to hit a storm here because my lights just flashed. So if I cut out, it's been good knowing you. But anyways, I think for the Tigers too, the one thing I was going to say is they are getting bit by the injury bug, but in their defense, they keep getting bit, but it's not really sinking their season, knock on wood. I mean, Kerry Carpenter's on the IL. He just went on the IL. So did SGL, Sawyer Gibson, along with some neck issues. So, it's going to be interesting. It's a foul ball they're calling that. Wow.
I hope AJ goes and gets tossed again.
I mean, he's shaking his head. I mean, 7-0, top 4. I mean, I don't know. That's tough. The chalk blew up. I don't know. Well, it appears there has not been a new Pope elected, Alex. You'll have to need to watch Conclave until the end of time. But yeah, so I think that's what's pretty fascinating with the Tigers right now. They definitely have some holes where they can fill, especially on the pitching side. And for the injuries that they have been bitten by, I feel like they've done a pretty good job kind of sustaining, and they're floating and they're not drowning. And obviously they're quite the opposite of even floating. They're a good baseball team. So they've been hot and cold. I was going to ask you this question. I don't know if it's just we're getting older and life is different and work and blah blah blah. I feel like this is the least amount of Tigers baseball I've watched this season, sitting down watching 9 innings of games. I'm still checking the highlights every day. I'm still checking the recaps every day. But I feel like, especially maybe it's just the last week, I didn't watch any of the Oakland series. I was busy with work. So, it just kind of goes to show there. And then who the hell did they play this last weekend?
The Twins.
The Twins, thank you. Yeah, the Twins series, I watched a little bit of the Sunday game. But yeah, it's been busy with work and stuff. But I mean, been fun to follow along and just see what that. I mean, Tarek Skubal, my goodness, we got to talk about that Sunday night performance. Yeah. That was just electric, and I was really cool to see. And thank you for saying the Twins, because now it's all coming back to me. Did you see that Sunday night baseball viewership was up significantly with Tarek Skubal on the mound? And it just goes to show. And I think it was Jeff Passan who tweeted it out today. I could be wrong. If not him, it was probably Ben Verlander, one of the two. Said that. I think this is such a good reminder for Major League Baseball that there's a lot of good happening with baseball teams on the mid-market level. It doesn't always have to be every Sunday night Dodgers Mets. It doesn't have to be every Sunday night Yankees Astros. Like there can give us some Tiger games, give us some more Cub games, and the Cubs get a lot, to be fair. But like Tampa, a team that's playing out of their mind right now, give them some more exposure. Even though they're playing in a minor league stadium, the Rays have been arguably one of the hottest teams in baseball, if not the hottest team in the last month or so. So I think it's a good reminder, and that does excite me for the future, because I think if more teams like that can start getting that exposure, the teams that don't have to have, Ohtani or Betts or Pete Alonso, I think it only does good for baseball. And honestly, it's nice to share the stage from time to time.
Yeah, I mean, you think about it's such a you look at the tale of two markets for me when I look at like Detroit and I look at Pittsburgh, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like both teams have at least one starter who should be appointment television. That like if Tarek Skubal's taking the mound, if you are a baseball fan, you should want to tune into that game.
Right.
If Paul Skeens is taking the mound and you are a baseball fan, you should want to tune into that game because
right.
you may see magic that night. You'll certainly see some amount of magic, but you may really see magic that night because on Sunday night, we had 12 straight retired. 10 of them on swinging strikeouts.
Yep.
I don't even care that he gave up the hit. Just watching those first 12 outs was just bananas. And like you get that like that tingly feeling of like, oh, is tonight going to be the night?
Mm-hmm.
Am I about to watch real magic? And so I think that if you give teams the exposure and the opportunity, and you have mid-market teams that are actually interested in building a contender, not to the level of spend that Dodgers ownership makes, that Yankees ownership makes, that Mets ownership makes, because the economics of the smaller market are what they are. And I do think the Tigers are interested in building a contender. We have some of the highest ratings on Sunday Night Baseball possible. If the Pirates were playing on Sunday Night Baseball, I don't think we'd see the same thing because that ownership group is not interested in building a contender. And so how do we create the economics of baseball such that these mid-market teams are encouraged to do what the Tigers are doing, are encouraged to do what the Twins have done in recent years, are encouraged to do what the Royals did in the last year, right? Like these teams that have those small market economics, but aren't going to go the way of the Pirates and the Athletics and some of those teams that you're like, well, why do you even deserve a baseball team?
Right. Speaking of deserving, we don't deserve Riley Green. He just hit another 3-run homer. Tigers are up 10-0 in the top of the fourth inning here with no outs. That is 2 3-run homers for Riley Green, 21 home runs, 69 RBIs. Nice on the season for the future all-star, two-time all-star, I should say, in Riley Green. No, that was a great point, Alex. Truly, I agree. What it should incentivize, right? A lot of these other mid-market teams to put a product on the field that is worth showing to the nation. And let's call it how it is. And we haven't shied away from this much over the last 10 years. Nice catch there. That the Tigers for the longest time did not deserve that spotlight. Far from it. They should have been kept in a closet with no working light bulbs. That's how bad they were. And I think it took a lot of time, took a lot of frustration, took a lot of losses, took a lot of me bitching and moaning on Twitter, but they're at a point now where they're at the top and they deserve to be recognized for being at the top. And they play like a top contending team and they should be looked at one as such. So yeah, I think of a lot of like the mid-level teams that are kind of right on the cusp or just a little bit under or just slightly over. I think of like the Reds. I think of the Marlins who are playing actually really good baseball over the last couple of weeks. The Reds who have been scrappy. Like there is a road. You are 100% right. You don't have to be the Yankees. You don't have to be the Dodgers. You don't have to be the Mets, the Cubs, whoever, the Red Sox. You can put a winning product on the field. And I think that was always my frustration going back in time when I was so pissed off with the Tigers. If it's not just a matter of you got to spend. I know there's more of a development, things like that, making them the right trades, getting the guys up to the system. You look at this Tigers team right now, though, there's no massive contracts really on the books, probably outside Javi Baez. That's it. That's it. And that's from a contract that started, this is his fourth year, so in early 2022. So, I mean, Flaherty, got a multi-year deal. They waived Maeda. Tarek Skubal's making $10 million. Colt Keith is at 6 years, 25 to 28 million, somewhere in that ballpark. So, it's doable. We are seeing that it's doable. I do, again, not to beat a dead horse from seasons past. Do I love the concept of a rebuild that takes 9 years and then eventually you get to year 10? Like, see, it worked. It worked. I told you. I don't love that notion, but I mean, I do think this should be definitely kind of the Tigers are living, breathing proof right now that if you develop guys properly, if you bring in the right players, good things can happen, and good things most certainly are happening in Detroit.
And I don't want to fully eat crow on our Javi Baez hate over the past few years, because I think all of it was fully justified.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the value that we've accrued from the contract is that the contract is not equivalent to the value we've received as a team. However, I would like to say, who would you rather have on your roster this season, Javier Baez or Carlos Correa?
Oh, Javi Baez.
Yeah.
Not even, yeah. I mean, I agree. I'm with you. And I think for me, and I hate to play like the hypothetical game with Javi, because I'm just like, let's live in the moment right now and enjoy this. Mm-hmm. This is the guy we all kind of hoped and dreamed that maybe we would get when he signed with Detroit back in, the offseason of 2021. 2022, he had a very whatever season. He wasn't great. He wasn't awful. He was just blah. 23, 24, we know the history there. Just truly terrible. So my mindset is a little bit like looking at the rest of this year and next year. If he can continue on this level, and again, he's not doing Chicago Cubs level numbers for Javi Baez right now, but that's okay. I don't need that. I mean, of course I would want it, but I don't desperately need it. He's not the absolute glue or the last puzzle piece that completes his team. But if we can get him to continue to play like he's been playing for the rest of this season, and he does the same level of play into next year, are we then looking, all right, 5 years we've had Javi. 1 year he was kind of meh, whatever. 2 years he was awful. 2 years he was pretty solid. Then do we look back retroactively and go, you know what? In hindsight, it wasn't the absolute worst contract I've ever seen in life. It's definitely not a Bobby Bonilla contract by any means. So I think that's an interesting argument and a story to kind of watch over the rest of this season and next. Like, if he continues to play at this level, a lot of us got to eat crow, myself included. I mean, it was what it was with Javi. But yeah, I mean, can't be any happier for him. Speaking of Javi, potentially going to be one of the starting outfielders in the All-Star game this year. Fought alongside Mr. 2-3-run homer Riley Green, and then Gleyber Torres as well, who I talk about him almost every episode. I love Gleyber Torres. Maybe I just didn't follow him because he was on the Yankees for all those years, and I'm not a Yankee fan, but what a breath of fresh air this guy has been since he's come to Detroit. And I don't know what it does big picture, blocking guys up in the minor league system. What do you do with Colt Keith? Do you put Colt to third? I don't know. All I know is this. I would love to have Gleyber Torres wearing the Old English D for another season or two after this year. I hope it's not just a one and done year for Gleyber. I've loved the time that he's been with the Tigers.
From all accounts, I think that Gleyber would also like to wear the Old English D for the next couple seasons. And I think that Gleyber has kind of always been this guy with the with like when he was with the Yankees, he was probably, I think he was a little bit worse. I haven't looked at the numbers specifically, but I think he was slightly worse than he's performed now. But he was just
the last couple seasons. Yeah, he was down.
He's not a superstar in the way that you need to be, I think, to break out of the New York media market. When you're on a roster with Aaron Judge, that he's going to take up some air. Anthony Rizzo is also like a guy that's going to take some air from you. There's just like a lot of guys that have a little bit more of that like star power to him. And so I think that there's a really nice combination of like the blue collar nature of Detroit and the blue collar nature in which Gleyber approaches the game. And it's we see this across the sports, especially in Detroit. I mean, I think that's where I'm most acutely aware of it, but like where when you have guys whose personality like matches the city, there's something like really special about it that when you can kind of like weave those two stories together. And Gleyber is one of those guys, being that I also think about like the redemption arc of Jared Goff on the Lions side, like the redemption arc of Detroit as a city. Also kind of like that nice matchup. That's just like Dan Campbell, who Dan Campbell is as a person. Like AJ, there's something about AJ Hinch as well that like feels correct in Detroit.
Right.
And so those stories are all just like, they're really nice to have. But yeah, I mean, I love that Javi is gonna be an all-star as an outfielder. I don't think anybody had that on their bingo card last season.
You bring up a great point going back with kind of the redemption arc story. And I'm sure there's so many names that I'm already overlooking, but like Detroit is almost the rehab center of
Hmm.
professional sports. You know, I mean, I'm not a diehard Lions fan like you. Obviously, I root for those wonderful Chicago Bears who just play great football season after season. But being a Bears fan and even watching the Lions trajectory, through your eyes and everything, Jared Goff, you're right, kind of rejuvenated his career by coming to Detroit. Dan Campbell, didn't have a great coaching track record, has
Hmm.
really, come out of nowhere and lit, the Lions on fire. I look at a guy like Glaber Torres, like you just said. Jack Flaherty is a guy in the recent years, had a lot of success with the Cardinals, got traded to Baltimore, wasn't very good, kind of refound himself, went and won a World Series, came back. It is an interesting place. It's almost like the island of misfit toys a little bit for professional sports, where you can either come and get better or you'll get worse and just kind of fade into obscurity forever. We've seen that happen quite a lot in Detroit too. But yeah, it's an interesting kind of argument, especially right now. I mean, I don't follow the Pistons. I don't follow the Red Wings, but I mean, they're at least from a Pistons standpoint, it seems to be on a pretty
Hmm.
good, track heading forward. And Red Wings don't see too far off based off the little I see. But yeah, I don't know. That's an interesting argument to be made. Detroit overall, it almost feels like it's lived in like the shadow of Chicago for so many years,
Yeah.
but which is hilarious because if you look at these last few years, even being a guy who was, born and raised not in Chicago, but the Chicagoland suburbs, west suburbs, all that, lived in the city for a little while. Um, Detroit is just mopping the floor right now when it comes to sports
Yeah.
over Chicago. The Chicago sports circuit has one good team, and that's the Cubs. And they're like, 50-50 depending on the season. Bears suck. White Sox suck. Bulls suck. Blackhawks suck. The Bears, maybe they put it together. Maybe they don't. Who knows? I have no optimism. But really, I need to see it to believe with the Bears. But yeah, it's interesting. That's an interesting argument to be made with the dueling cities. This is actually why I'm on the Bears tangent real quick. I said this to a friend the other day. I think I even told the resident Ace fan Tom not too long ago. It's usually this point in the season where the Tigers are like 14 games under 500 and 11 games out of the division that I've pretty much like mentally checked out, where I become more
Yeah.
like I'll still watch most of the games. That I'm not like losing sleep over a 7-2 loss. And then I've usually switched my game, the gears in my brain. Are like football. How many days till kickoff? And this year, since the Tigers are playing good, I've pretty much not cared about football in the slightest. I'm just like, all right, when it
Yeah.
comes around, great. I guess I'll be ready. But I'm enjoying the ride in Detroit so much right now with these Tigers that I've so desperately wanted for so many years that football just feels like an afterthought at the moment. But it's a good position to be in as a sports fan. It's great for you. You get to watch a good Tiger team, and in a couple months you'll get to watch a good Lions team. So I
Yeah.
mean, you're really
In 29 days, Luke.
yeah.
The
Yes,
Lions are in
sir.
the Hall of Fame game, so I
Yeah.
get Lions football on July 31st. I
Yeah.
was and then I will tune out again because I don't really watch the preseason, but I will watch the Hall
Preseason,
of
yeah.
Fame game with
Yeah.
the
I
Lions
retired from
participating.
fantasy football this year, so I'm really out of the football loop. I retired. I'm gonna focus on the Detroit Tigers. Really watch some Bears games when I can, and of course, I'm a new born again Florida Gator fan, and watch some Gator
Yeah,
football too. So, yeah.
I think I haven't made the final decision. I think I'm retiring from fantasy football as well. Just because
Yeah.
I
What was your reason?
I well, I mean, it's became a similar reason as to like why I don't do fantasy baseball, is that it just like started to
Mhm.
feel more like a chore to set my lineup every week, because all I wanted, especially with the Lions being good, like all I wanted to do was watch the Lions play, and I didn't really care about anything
Yeah.
else happening on Sunday. And so I was
Yep.
like, oh well, I guess I gotta kind of tune in a little bit more than I have
Yeah.
been. And so it's just like, yeah, the time, I don't really like lighting $50 on fire every season.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of more or less with you there. I also think too, the big thing for me is I was in the same fantasy league for about 14 or 15 years, all my friends back from high school. And what I found as you get older and people just drift apart naturally because just physically, not even just friendship wise, but just physical distance. When people start
Hmm.
living all over the country and having their own adult lives, you miss the camaraderie of like bullshitting with each other. Like I
Yeah.
can't describe it, but like there was no better or worse feeling than after a win or a loss walking into school after the Monday night game on a Tuesday morning and being like, oh my God, I just lost by 0.4 points because I let Joe Flacco start instead of Aaron Rodgers or whatever stupid hypothetical it was that week. And then you knew your buddies were mercifully going to just tease the crap out of you. And it was those were the good old days. But yeah, so I don't really have that anymore either. So that mixed with like I don't follow. I mean, I do watch football a lot, but I don't know. I honestly think I've outgrown it a little bit.
Yeah, like I fully intend that my Sundays will be go to church, come home, sit on the couch, and watch football until 11:30 at night. But yeah, I don't feel like I need whether or not the fantasy was happening had nothing to do with my enjoyment of those days. So
yeah. All right, I have one more question for you because I know we said we're going to kind of do a hard out today after about a half hour. So I have one more question for you before we end the stream. And Tigers currently up still 10-0, bottom of the fourth. Brent Herter's 1 out away from keeping that goose egg on the board for the Nats. My question for you is this. I want to go back just a couple talking points. The Tarik Skubal start on Sunday evening. I think not only was that just a great representation of who this Detroit Tigers ball club is right now and that he is truly the face of this team. Mm-hmm. I think the one thing that then became an even better national pressure point for the Tigers, but in particular Tigers management and ownership, is the Tigers need to extend Tarik Skubal, and it needs to happen now. Yeah, they have him for the rest of this season. They have him the rest for next season, and then that's it. And with a lockout potentially looming down the road, not potentially, looks like it's going to happen, just based off all the early indicators. The time to get this thing done, in my opinion, is, if not during this season, it has to be the focal point going into this offseason.
Yeah, and I think I would be pretty shocked if they can't get there, because I don't know why you wouldn't give him the number he's seeking in free agency. Like, he's going to be worth it. Mm-hmm. If for nothing else than in jersey sales. And to that point, I would just I've been beating this drum for a little while, but everybody should just emotionally prepare themselves for there to be no baseball in 2027. Because they're very far apart. They're very far apart in what each side wants to accomplish. Right. And leadership sucks of both the MLBPA and Rob Manfred at MLB. So
I mean, did you see there was that thing a couple weeks ago, and I don't know, if he was joking or this might be anecdotal, but he went on some Detroit sports talk radio show, and they threw out like a number, and it was like, how about 400 or 425 million? And he was like, yeah, that sounds good. So whether or not he was being for real or not, whether he was just, along with the bit. But I mean, I cannot think of a Tigers player since probably Miguel Cabrera who I feel like lives and breathes for the city of Detroit like Tarik Skubal does.
Yeah.
And I know Mickey just retired a couple of years ago, but he early on, he cemented his status. I mean, this Tarik Skubal is he's the dude right now. He is that dude. Good work by Brent Herter. Gets out of that bottom of the fourth inning. Tigers still 10-0. But Tarik Skubal's that dude right now. He's a fan favorite. He's the best pitcher in baseball. This is the Tigers cannot, for the first time ever, when it comes to signing players or trading players, they cannot bungle this one. It has to be executed flawlessly. You need to sign Tarik Skubal to an extension today. I think if he walks, I think it's just going to be heartbreaking. It's going to be absolutely, and you'd be letting him walk, I feel like, with so much still left in the tank. I mean, he's just getting poised. He's just getting started, and I think he's going to be great. So I don't know. I hope it happens.
Yeah.
But
I think there's two things working in the Tigers' favor. Is that there is so much young talent on this roster that we are at the opening of a window for contention, and so I think that like for those that have a little PTSD about Justin and Max and those guys, that was like that was them deciding to close a window, but the window was closing on the contention of that team. You didn't want to necessarily, you were already straddled with some questionable contracts. That is not the current economic situation of the Detroit Tigers. And Tarik I take him at his word that he wants to be in Detroit.
Yeah.
And so but I also respect him being like, I mean, it is a business, so we do have to make business decisions
Mhm.
on this front.
Agreed.
So I don't expect him to take a, $100 million pay cut to stay in Detroit from
Yeah.
what he would get on free agency. Like, he's got to be able to get what he's worth from
Got
the
a family.
Tigers.
Yeah,
And
dude. Yeah, I get that.
there's no reason to underpay him because he's the guy who could win multiple Cy Youngs still and lead you to multiple World Series. So,
And I think too, it's just a matter of years on the contract, right? So I mean, I was just double checked. He's 28 right now. So by the time he's done with his team, by the time he's done with on Tigers, I think where he could re-sign, go elsewhere, he'll be 29. So again, there's a big difference between late 20s and 21 to 22. Big difference there. But I'm not saying that I go out and sign him to an 8-year contract. But you pay this man, a 4-year deal, and you give him that number he wants, and I think he'll pay it back to you, and then some. So I don't know. I mean, I'm just obviously a fanboy of Skubal. I think it's a no-brainer for me. I hope the two can come to a side. I always get nervous when it's a Scott Boras client because Scott Boras is Scott Boras. He's got that reputation, and you just say his name for a reason. It's almost like saying Beetlejuice's name 3 times. But I hope it's a done deal. I hope it's a no-brainer. I hope it all works out for the best. And I want to see Tarik Skubal pitching for the Tigers for at least 5 to 6 more years. I mean, the guy's just been incredible right now. And of course, there's going to be with age, and then you're going to hit that decline and everything. So the Tigers have to make the smart move of getting in while the going is good, but then you also don't want that no shade to Miggy, but that Miggy contract where those last few years are kind of like, oh, he's not quite where he was when we signed this thing. It's got to be advantageous for both sides. I think it already is. I think both sides definitely win. Now it just comes down to the money and the numbers. So we'll see. We don't have to worry about it too immediately, but that will be the big. Make no mistake about it. That will be the biggest question for the Tigers heading into the offseason. And it'd be great if they did it beforehand because then we wouldn't have to spend the whole offseason on Skubal watch. So we'll see.
Yeah, because he's a Scott Boras client, it is going to be one of those that it's either going to happen immediately following the season, or we'll be going into spring training, pitchers and catchers report, and be like, is Skubal going to report? Or is he going to wait for this deal to get done?
I don't, with Skubal, that'd be interesting. He doesn't, I may agree or disagree slightly with that. And I don't think it's so much a Skubal thing. Skubal doesn't seem to me have the ego. I have a hard time ever seeing Tarik Skubal being a guy who's holding out. I don't foresee that actually at all from him. But I also could see him being the kind of guy who's like, we are going to get this done the first day the offseason officially begins, or we're not doing this until next offseason. I'm not dealing with this crap through the whole season. I get like, he's not going to answer it in spring training. I mean, that could be totally wrong. I don't know him personally, but that's just the vibe I get from him. He's he's a good guy, but like no nonsense, who has those boundaries. Like, we're either doing this today or we're doing this a year from now, and there's no in between.
Yep.
Or Scott Boras said, no, we're going to hold off and try to get you like $600 million. And Tarik might go, all right, that sounds good to me.
I do like the sound of $600 million.
I do like the sound of $600 million.
Yeah.
I'm still waiting for my million from Bobby B, but no dice. So
it's coming. Don't worry, Luke. Just keep checking the mailbox. All right, Luke, we'll talk soon. We'll talk more Tigers soon, folks. Don't forget to subscribe here on YouTube. Hit that little bell notification so you know when we go live, and make sure you follow us on the social media where Luke will send out the tweet that says, hey gang, we're live. Come hop into the conversation.
Live. Yeah.
Luke, talk to you soon, bud.
Talk to you soon. Happy 4th. Go Tigers.